TransPro managed the Detroit bus system from 2011 to 2012. He joins us here at Post 9 Markets. Good to have you.
Thanks very much.
You've helped a lot of municipalities restructure. You ran the Transportation Authority in Rochester. Who's right on this decision, the pensioners or the city?
Well, it's really a pretty simple issue, isn't it? The whole idea of a public pension is to prepare people for their golden years. It's not designed to be gold-plated. And what we have here are pensions that are simply unaffordable, particularly when there are streetlights that are out in the city of Detroit. It's simply not sustainable, it's simply not affordable, and there's going to have to be changes.
Is it the fact that the pensions are gold-plated, though, or just the fact that these pensions exist at all in a city? I think their pension load is like 90% relative to 35% for, so even if these were bare bones, they'd still have a problem.
That's exactly right, which is why you're going to, I mean, it's really tough for people. People have planned their retirements on these, totally understand the human side of this, but the reality is when the rest of America has benefit rates at 35%, Detroit retirees are at 90%. We can't continue that. There's going to have to be changes, and you'll see that today.
We've heard from a lot of different sides regarding Detroit. Some realtors on our air talking about how the inventory for good property is actually pretty tight. How services in the core of downtown are pretty good. Do you think the view of Detroit being a mess, having services be a mess, has been overstated?
It's not. I spent many nights in Detroit last year. We worked with the city of Detroit. We saved $39 million in their transit system, improved customer satisfaction 44%. It demonstrates we can run public agencies with a private sector mindset, but Detroit's in serious trouble. You get just outside that core, you will see an entire city block with 1 or 2 houses on it. They've got to make big changes, and they got to make them fast.
Although fixing the transportation system, would you argue that that's an easier problem than the city's finances, broadly speaking? In other words, sort of one is just an operational issue, correct? Or was there a pension issue with the transportation system as well?
We had 2 issues with the transportation system. 1, they were spending way too much money, and 2, the quality was horribly inferior. So you're getting, you know, the lowest quality hotel room for Ritz-Carlton prices. We had to make changes. But when you look at the entire scope of city government, they've got to make massive changes, which is why you've seen the emergency manager take them into bankruptcy court. There's a lot of talk about all this thing with alternative fuels, but there's not an alternative way to pay. Someday the guy at the pump wants his money. That's where we are.
Yeah. Talking about the broken promises, too. We'll see where this all leads us in the court system. Mark, thank you for coming in.
A pleasure.
Mark Aesch. Pretty good housing number this morning. New home sales coming in at their highest level in 5 years.